Out here, one bad cut or one wrong line on it.
Welcome to NextGen Timber, where timber work is no longer just about cutting wood. Subscribe now if you want more real logging action, industrial timber machines, dangerous close calls, and hard lessons from deep in the woods. That is the reality of NextGen Timber. Power, precision, risk, and constant decision-making. Some days the machines run clean, the cuts land perfectly, and the operation looks smooth. Other days, one small mistake changes everything. Timber work looks simple from far away, but anyone who has been near a falling tree, a loaded trailer, or a live saw knows there is nothing simple about it. Then we see a worker climb onto a massive trunk and start cutting deep into the side. He is not just making a random cut, he is shaping the wood section by section, trying to control how the upper part separates. The chainsaw bites into thick timber while tension builds inside the trunk. When the section finally breaks loose and slides away cleanly, it looks controlled. But make no mistake, one bad footing, one wrong angle, or one unexpected shift could turn that same technique into a serious accident. You can hear it in the voices too. Frustration, urgency, and that moment when people realize the job is bigger than expected. In timber work, forcing the cut is not always the brave move. Sometimes the smartest decision is to stop, rethink the setup, and call for help before the situation gets worse. A rushed crew may finish faster, but an experienced crew knows when the job is starting to fight back. From there, we move into engineering. A new log handler from Liebherr brings 30 tons of lifting capacity, an oversized grapple, and a design built around uptime. Strength matters, but in industrial timber, uptime matters just as much. Easy maintenance, quick access to key components, and less downtime all mean one thing: more work done and less money lost. That is the next generation of timber equipment, not just bigger machines, but smarter machines. A tree falls straight onto a truck, crushing steel like it is nothing. Most of the time, that is not just bad luck. It is a failure to read weight, lean, direction, tension, and escape space before the cut begins. A logger then cuts deep into the base of a giant tree, building the notch and guiding the fall. Every pass widens the cut. Every chip removed changes the structure. The whole tree moves closer to the final drop. This is where experience matters. The cut is not just about getting through the wood. It is about deciding where thousands of pounds of timber will go when it finally lets loose. Then the WP3000 changes the pace completely. This is not delicate cutting. This is controlled industrial destruction. Logs go in, consistent output comes out, and the whole process turns messy raw material into something useful and repeatable. That is where engineering beats brute force. Power matters, but precision is what keeps production steady. Then two trees sharing the same root system create a dangerous chain reaction. Cut one, and the balance of the other changes instantly. The base shifts, the second trunk starts moving, and suddenly a controlled cut becomes much harder to predict. Connected timber can behave like one living structure, and if the operator does not read that connection, the forest makes the decision for him. A controlled burn is used at the base of a tree, with flames wrapping around the trunk to weaken the wood before removal. Smoke builds, heat rises, and the tree becomes easier to bring down, but also more unpredictable. Because at the end of the day, timber is not optional. Houses, beams, boards, fuel, paper, and materials all start in places like this. The work is dangerous, but the demand never stops. Charred timber makes everything worse. Burned from the inside, weakened where nobody can see it, and unpredictable under load. At that point, the operator is not just cutting a tree. He is working with a structure that could fail without warning. Every second near it needs respect. Then half the roof suddenly collapses during the cut, and the job turns chaotic in seconds. The worker is left hanging on the ladder while debris crashes down beside him. That is the kind of moment that proves how fast a simple job can become a near disaster. But once logs leave the machine and hit the road, the danger does not disappear. Timber hauling is a completely different kind of risk. Chains, straps, load placement, balance, and tension all matter. If that load shifts while the truck is moving, it is not only the driver who is in trouble. Everyone nearby becomes part of the danger zone. Then a forestry harvester clamps onto a fallen trunk and starts processing. The cutting head locks in, the blade spins up, sawdust bursts into the air, and the rollers feed the log forward while stripping branches in one continuous motion. Cut, grip, feed, process, all happening almost instantly. Modern forestry is fast because machines now combine several dangerous jobs into one controlled system. A worker standing on a roof cutting a heavy tangled branch still has to deal with shifting weight, falling debris, and unpredictable movement. Logs are then bundled with cables and dragged through the forest as one heavy mass. Dirt, roots, branches, and debris all fight against the load, while the skidder pulls through tight terrain. That is not clean hauling. That is raw extraction, turning scattered timber into one controlled pull. It is rough, loud, and hard on every part of the machine. Because gravity does not negotiate. Once a tree begins to fall, the next few seconds decide everything. When someone yells that it is going, everybody nearby knows the job has already entered the danger phase. Right away, the next scene opens with serious industrial wood processing. A crane grabs massive logs and feeds them straight into a high-powered chipper. The rollers pull the timber in with brutal force, and once the blades catch it, there is no resistance left. Wood disappears into the machine, chips blast through the chute, dust fills the air, and the truck starts filling with processed material almost instantly. This is not slow manual work anymore. This is raw timber being converted into output at industrial speed. After that, we see a log being fed into a spinning circular saw. The operator guides it carefully. The blade cuts clean, sawdust sprays out, and rough timber becomes usable lumber in seconds. When the setup is right, the process looks smooth. But that smoothness only exists because every part of the machine is doing its job correctly. Then comes a simple but clever manually driven system. A rotating drum spins while one worker feeds material and another keeps the mechanism moving from the side. It is basic, physical, and demanding, but it works. Not every useful machine needs to be massive. Some are just smart, practical, and built from experience. Then another massive trunk is cut at the base. The operator shapes the notch carefully, weakening the structure one pass at a time until the tree is ready to fall. That moment always carries tension because the tree may follow the plan, or it may choose its own path. Then we move deeper into Suriname, where the environment changes the rules again. Dense jungle, no proper roads, massive timber, and machines pushing through terrain that barely allows movement. This is logging in one of its rawest forms. If something goes wrong out there, recovery is not simple. There is no easy backup plan. Then we see a worker high on a steep mountain slope, standing on narrow-cut branches like footholds, while carving into a massive trunk. Every movement is exposed. Every cut sends chips flying. The notch forms, tension builds, and finally the upper section gives way. It is controlled, but it is not comfortable to watch. The fall direction should already be chosen. The escape route should already be clear. The pressure points should already be understood. Even the basic undercut matters. If that first cut is wrong, everything after it becomes compromised. But not every method deserves respect. Pushing animals too hard, overloading systems, forcing bad setups, and cutting corners may work once or twice. Eventually, the forest collects payment. NextGen Timber is about progress, but progress without judgment is just danger with better equipment. Machines like the John Deere 648H with tire tracks show how much forestry equipment has evolved. More traction, more stability, and better control in mud and uneven ground make a huge difference. Older machines would fight every rut. This setup keeps pulling, keeps gripping, and keeps the job moving even when the ground is working against it. And sometimes there is no real road at all. The machine has to create one. A zill pushes through rough terrain, cutting its own path because there is no other option. In timber work, access is everything. If the road does not exist, the machine becomes the road builder. A brutal-looking slip, and somehow the operator walks away. It looks almost funny afterward, but only because it did not end badly. Next comes the Valmet 425EX with a Quadco head and Cummins power. This is not just another feller buncher. It is a machine built for hard conditions and repaired for another round of punishment. Heavy-duty hydraulics, replaced track pumps, a rebuilt boom cylinder, lighting, heating, and air conditioning all tell the same story. This machine was made for operators who do not get perfect weather or perfect ground. They just get the job and make it happen. Next, a loader stacks log after log onto a trailer, placing each piece carefully to keep the load balanced. It may look repetitive, but this is where transport safety begins. A bad stack can shift, a shifted load can roll, a rolling load can turn deadly. In timber hauling, the road danger starts long before the truck leaves the landing. That is NextGen Timber. Giant trees, smarter machines, dangerous cuts, industrial chippers, heavy loaders, rough terrain, close calls, and operators working where one mistake can change the whole job. Subscribe now for more next-generation timber machines, raw forestry action, dangerous wood processing, and real moments from deep inside the timber world. Drop a comment with the closest call you saw today, and stay with NextGen Timber for the next round of steel, sawdust, pressure, and power.